All right, it looks like we're slowly plateauing. So again, greetings everybody from Duke University. My name is Jordan Hale. I use the he series of pronouns, and I'm really excited to be here today with two campus experts who work in the Pratt School of Engineering, and they are going to give you some really, really good information and insight to get ready for registration. This is a part of our summer transition series for incoming students. And so just a couple of housekeeping notes about using this on Zoom. So the first is that we're going to ask everybody to ask their questions via the Q&A feature. Putting things in the chat just makes it confusing for us when we have to look at two different places. So there is a Q&A feature, and we're going to do our best to get through all of the questions. So if you have a question, feel free to put it there. And then our session is being recorded, and we will work our best to get that uploaded and online soon after the presentation. And with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Ben and Carmen so they can get started. The floor is yours.
Okay, so hi, welcome everyone. Let me be the first to welcome you to Duke and to the Pratt family. So, change slides. Or you want to, well, let's introduce ourselves, I guess. My name is Carmen Rawls. I'm one of the academic deans from Pratt. I do undergraduate advising and also help students with undergraduate research. Ben?
My name is Ben Cooke. I'm another of the academic deans and also do data analysis.
So then a little bit more about what is it who we are and what we do. So I'm very happy to be able to start this Pratt advising and connect with you all. I hope you're doing all well and are able to enjoy this summer. So today we're going to provide you with information that will help you navigate all the registration process. At the end of just a few slides with information, we'll be able to answer all your questions. So I would encourage you to wait a few minutes until we cover the information first. You may answer your questions, and if not, please add them to the chat so we can address them. We understand that some students might have specific situations they would like for us to discuss. For that reason, the three academic deans will be offering Zoom-in advising meetings this summer. So we will be reaching out to all our advisees through email with instructions on how to schedule those meetings. So I encourage you to check your email later today. You should receive an email by tonight. Otherwise, reach out to us and we will provide the emails later. So next slide. So introducing the rest of our advising team so you can become familiar with our office. So the first are the three of us, the academic deans. So Dean Cooke, Dean McMillian, and myself. Our picture also includes our associate dean, Dean Fransoni, the director of student affairs, Jennifer Ganley, who works closely with student clubs and groups. And finally, members of our machine shop, the manager, Steve Erb and Greg Bombas, who will help you in different ways along the way. Next. In addition to that, you have many resources available, and we just wanted to remind you of some of them. In addition to the academic dean you are assigned, you will be assigned a faculty advisor or 360 coach. Now, he or she would provide you with a lot of guidance, and you will meet with them frequently throughout the year. Each of the first year students will be assigned a cohort of peers under the supervision of the 360 coach for guidance. In addition to that, you'll have access to an e-teamer. That's an upperclassman that will give you advice from a student's perspective. They're advanced students from different majors within Pratt. In addition to that, you have wellness support, student health, counseling, psychological services, career advising from the Career Center, academic support from the Academic Resource Center, directors of academic engagement. They also have access to directors of undergraduate studies of each department. So if you have specific questions about majors or program requirements, you can address them to them and also other consultants. So next. So who's your academic dean? So we assign our advisees based on their last name. So it's alphabetical. The first group, starting from A to HE, are under the guidance of Dean Cooke. The students whose last name starts with H-O up to O are mine. And then the Maximilians are the remaining from P to C. We will be your academic advisors for your 4 years at Duke, and we're the main source of contact. If you don't know which question, concern, who to address them to, you can always reach out to us. So now to register for classes, which is the main topic today. So there are a couple of things I wanted to discuss in this slide. So first, you will be able to register on July 12th or 14th based on your assigned registration window. You will find the date on your Duke Hub. But before that, shopping carts start on June 6th. So there are things you have to do before you start shopping for classes. So first, you have to check Duke Hub. Make sure there are no announcements or messages that you have to address, such as you have to update your personal information and confirm it. And also you have to complete your first year questions. Once you've done those 2 steps, then you'll be able to start selecting courses and sections that you will prefer in the fall. Know that one question that we usually get is what happens if the section I selected in my shopping cart is not available by the time my registration window opens. And I would say, just make changes to your schedule. You might select a different section and enroll in that one that's available. Also, I wanted to remind you to refer to the Blue Book. Take the time to review sections Pratt Learning and Pratt Registration. They provide step-by-step instructions, well illustrated, on how to add courses to the schedule, validate it, and finally register for classes. Let's see what else. Well, that's it. I think that's all the topics I wanted to talk there. Then more specifically to your full schedule. First year students during the first semester are allowed to enroll in up to 4.5 course credits, but a full course load is 4 credits. So these courses at Duke might have different credits. Could be a quarter, a half credit, 1 credit. There are a few that are even 2 credits. What you'll be looking for the fall are 4 1 credit courses. You might add a half credit, maybe if you're interested in music or a PE class, then you can add those to your schedule. In addition to that, just a general rule, the first year, and especially the first semester of Pratt students are really similar because of the structure of the program. So the only differences will be if you have AP credits, IPC, or pre-matriculation credits. And then if you have questions on those, that's the perfect question to discuss during one of our academic team meetings. Now, I will let Dean Cooke continue our conversation on registration.
Okay, so I'm going to go through some typical questions and kind of an outline of the typical first year schedule. And this slide kind of shows a generic schedule for first semester engineering student. We want all students to enroll in Engineering 101, all students to enroll in math, and math, depending on whether you have AP credit or IPC credit or pre-matriculation credit, will determine which math class is the right one for you. Math 111 is Calculus 1. If you have credit for Calculus 1, you would take Math 122. If you have credit for Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, you would take Math 218-2, which is a linear algebra course for Pratt students. And for these, if you have credit and you want to register, you don't want to register for Calculus 1, that AP credit needs to be received by the registrar. So making sure to get your AP credits sent to Duke and for them to show up in Duke Hub before you register makes things a lot smoother. If you want to use your AP credit. If you're selected for writing 101 in the fall, there's a notification in the messages tab in Duke Hub, and there's more detail about that in the Blue Book, exactly what it looks like. And you should select a few sections of Writing 101 that work for your schedule and that you like the topics of. If you're not selected for Writing 101, half the students, the first year students at Duke, are selected for Writing 101 in the fall and half are selected in the spring. So if you're not selected for Writing 101, Engineering 103 or Comp Sci 201 or a computing course, those are the two computing courses that satisfy Pratt's computing requirement, would be the right choice. And then the fourth class is most likely chemistry. If you don't have AP credit for chemistry, you would take Chem 101. And then if you do have AP credit, you might, depending on what you're thinking about majoring in, there might be different options. And those options, that's where we'll be able to have a discussion with you about what might be good choices for you. But some kind of potential courses would be Engineering 103 or Comp Sci 201 if you aren't selected for writing. Or sorry, if you are selected for writing, or the opposite, Writing 101 if you aren't selected for writing. And there's a way to enroll in Writing 101 if you're not selected after when the drop add period starts. There's a lot on this slide, and we're going to kind of break it up in the next few slides. So I'll try to kind of break this up a little bit. But there's a number of options for that fourth course. Okay, if you are in focus, you'll already be registered for 2.5 focus courses when your registration window opens. The global energy focus and the global health focus clusters, which include 18 seats for engineering 95 FS, 18 in each cluster. That engineering 95 FS is engineering 101. It's the same course. So those clusters are the easiest courses for Pratt students to fit because they include one of the required first semester courses. If you are in those 2.5 courses, the other course you would register for, the other 2 courses you would register for are math and chemistry. If you're in a different focus cluster, you would register for engineering 101 and then either math or chemistry. And that's another, we could have a conversation with that with your D. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So Writing 101 is required for all first year students at Duke. And half of you will be assigned to take Writing 101 in the fall. And you can find that in Duke Hub in the Message Center. You can look in the blue book kind of for a description of kind of a screenshot of what it looks like. If you don't have that message in the Message Center, then you'll be assigned to take Writing 101 in the spring, or you can enroll in Writing 101 after drop add starts after both registration periods. So on July 15th, after the registration, after drop add starts, you could select an open seat in a Writing 101 class if you wanted to. Yeah, and for more information, so see your blue book for kind of the screenshot of that. Okay, lab courses is an area that registering for lab courses is confusing in Duke Hub because there are 2 different types of courses that are the way labs are associated with courses in Duke Hub. For some of the courses, the lab and the lecture are connected. So when classes want you to be in the same, if it's like a small lecture and a small lab, and they want the same students in the lab and the lecture, the 2 courses are connected. So you have to register for both at the same time. For bigger courses like chemistry or physics, when it doesn't matter who you're in the lab with, and the lecture is a bigger section, the lab is a separate course, but it's a required part of the course. So you have to register for the lab separately. You have to add it separately in Duke Hub. It doesn't just get automatically included. And this is confusing. This is the first time you're doing it in Duke Hub. Once you've done it once or twice, it makes sense, but the first time can be confusing, and it's good to just double check that you have all the components you need. If it has a D and an L, the D stands for discussion, the L stands for lab. So you should have a discussion and a lab. If it just has an L, there should be a lab as well as the regular lecture. Okay, so AP and IPC credit are not required, and departments treat them differently. So if you are having questions about, what AP credit you should use, you can talk to us about it. The math and the chemistry department have good kind of placement guidelines, including kind of self-assessments on the math department website to kind of help you decide what class is the right one for you. Definitely getting your AP scores sent to the registrar and processed into Duke Hub, so that if a course has a prerequisite, that course is in Duke Hub already, and you'll be able to register for it. Because if you don't get your AP scores and the course has a prerequisite, then you won't be able to register during your registration window, and that can be frustrating. Okay, so actually go back to that previous slide. I have a little more. Okay, so one thing to kind of keep in mind is that courses in engineering build upon each other. So if you take, for example, Calculus 1 is a prerequisite for Calculus 2. Physics E&M is a prerequisite for microelectronic circuits and devices. And so if you use AP credit and take a course that you don't, feel that confident in, or aren't that, don't, and you don't have kind of the understanding to master the material in that course, then the next course can be affected, right? So making a good choice about where to start is an important kind of thing to think through, and to use the resources provided by the different departments, so that you kind of are comfortable in that first course and then in subsequent courses, because a lot of our courses in engineering have prerequisites and build on each other. And like I said, the math and chemistry departments have nice, a lot of placement. They care a lot about placing their students in the right courses. And so they have a lot of guidelines about kind of which course to start in. Okay. We're here to help. Lupita, Carmen, and I all like working with students. We do this job because we enjoy meeting you. This is the first summer that we're going to be available for Zoom meetings only for first year students, which is I'm looking forward to. The last 2 summers we had all 4 classes registering. So this summer we have kind of the next month, we have time to meet with incoming first year students before, registration in July. And we have sent or will be sending today emails to you about how to make appointments. I discovered today that the usual way I set up appointments is Microsoft Bookings is not working currently. So I went back to Calendly, but that you should be able to make appointments. We have the registration is until July. If you, are having vacation or finishing up things and you can't get a meeting for a few weeks, that's okay. We'll be here. And Pratt, and so you can also send us emails. So if you have kind of, you're busy during the day, but you have some questions you started to think about, you can email either your dean individually or Pratt advising at duke.edu. We check that throughout the summer. All 3 of us have vacations, some vacation over the summer. So there will be times when your dean is not available, but the other deans will be available through Pratt advising. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're excited to start meeting students. Drop ad. So the registration windows are July 12th and July 14th. Drop ad begins July 15th and will stay open until the 2nd week of class. So in the case where, there's something that you're unhappy with in your schedule, maybe you're still thinking about the placement for a particular course, or you didn't add the lab that you're supposed to add, or you're not in 4 courses, or the math department courses that you want to take are full and the math department is going to open up more seats and you need to add that course. Those are all reasons where you might need to kind of keep working on your schedule during the drop ad. It's, you're going to be able to fix any issues that arise kind of on your own, or if you email us, we can help with that during that period between July 15th and the 2nd week of classes. And we'll have Zoom or drop-in Zoom advising available. And yeah, and you can also email us if you have questions over email. Okay.
Right.
Questions?
Yeah. All right, Ben. So good. This is great. So first of all, great job. Thank you to you and Carmen for giving that context and update. And for everybody who's watching, I will put in the chat the breakdown of the deans so you all can remember that, and the emails, just so you can have that. But we will now jump into some questions. So the first one is, and thank you all for putting them in the chat. If we have a significant experience, if this student is asking if they have significant experience with comp sci, will they be able to take a more advanced computer science course in their first year?
Computer science department has some placement guidelines. They actually let students self-place into Comp Sci 201. So Comp Sci 201 is a course taught in Java. And you can decide to take that, like you don't have to enroll in Comp Sci 101. If you have AP credit for Comp Sci, starting in 201 makes a lot of sense. But you can, that's another area where consulting directly with the computer science department can be helpful for that. And they have both advice on their website, but then they also have the director of undergraduate studies, the DUS at cs.duke.edu, is the kind of contact person for questions like that.
Thank you, Ben. We got another question here about, and we got a couple of these yesterday. We did Trinity webinar yesterday, and folks were interested in switching from either Pratt to Trinity or Trinity to Pratt. But we have a question about if a student's in Trinity and wants to switch to Pratt, what is that process like?
Well, I mean, if you know it now, I would say reach out to undergraduate admissions and see if it's possible to switch before the full semester starts. If it's not possible, don't worry. We make it very easy for students to switch. And I would say the process would be meet with your academic dean that was assigned, and we'll help you through the process. And in terms of course selections, if you're sure you're going to be a Trinity student, then I would recommend you visit the Academic Advising Center, and they can discuss more courses that are required for Trinity, because we're familiar with the Pratt requirements, but we want to make sure we set you up for success on the Trinity track. So again, to recap, it would be meet with your academic dean, and we will help you through the process.
Great. Thank you, Carmen. This next question, I think, is a really good one for many people. They mentioned AP scores don't come in until the beginning of July. So how will those scores be in place in time for registration?
So if they come in before July 12th, and you get them to Duke, so the College Board sends a batch of AP scores to the registrar directly at Duke, but you have to kind of let the College Board know that they should be sending it to Duke, and then Duke processes those. The registrar processes those. We would have to check in with the registrar to see what their timeline is before answering that question definitively. But in the past, yes, students have been able to get their AP scores in time.
Yeah. If they haven't been able to, then that's one of the opportunities during dropout to add the course that is correct for you based on the AP score you received.
Awesome. So the next one that we're going to tackle here is, we'll do this one. So as a student, this kind of came in yesterday, so I think it's a really good one just for students in general to hear. But as a student, what can they do to help their advisor kind of best be prepared to support them? So any tips or information with those first initial advising meetings about things students should be bringing to the table as they communicate with their advisors?
Well, answering your first year questions, your advisors do have access to your first year questions. So that can be a starting point. You know, I mean, in engineering, at least a lot of our students are deciding between a lot of different types of engineering. And there's kind of, you know, different things courses you can take, but also kind of other things you can start exploring at Duke to try to get more information to help you decide.
Great. Thanks, Ben. The only thing I would add quickly to that is first year questions are going to come live June 6th, I think, right? So you're not going to, if you look for them now, you're not going to see them now. So you're not missing anything. They come live June 6th. And so answering those when you start your shopping cart process, Ben is exactly right. It's the kind of the best way to do that. So we have somebody who says that they have an official dual enrollment transcript will be sent like electronically to Duke. And and they want to know, should they do any next steps to make sure they get placed in the right courses? Like after they submit their dual enrollment transcript, kind of what is the thing that happens next for course placement?
Yeah, for course placement, I think that should be everything they need to be done. As long as it's on the record, they should be able to add their courses as a regular registration window. Do you agree, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, the registrar has a process for pre-matriculation credit on their website. So they have a form. There's a form that you to fill out yourself, and there's a form that you have your high school or kind of where you're coming from. So if you took it out of college, you have the transcript sent from your college. If you took it as part of your high school curriculum, then there's a form your high school fills out. But there's a pre-matriculation credit description on the registrar's website.
Perfect. And Ben's right. There's one there. There's also one in the Blue Book site. So we try to give a little bit of information about pre-matriculation credits there. So you can go there. It also refers you to the registrar site. So just know that there's a couple different places you can get that information. I don't know if you all are going to know the answer to this one, but I think it's a good one. It's asking a focus question. It asks, do all focus students take writing 101 in the spring? Yeah. And so will they be able to take select two extra courses in the fall? Do you all know that by chance?
Well, yes. I mean, if they're in focus in the fall, yes, they will have writing in the spring, and they have access to 2 engineering courses they can add to their schedule. If, like Ben said, the focus program is not the one that has the equivalent of EGR 101, then they would enroll in EGR 101 in the fall.
Great.
Yeah, so if you're in focus, you do not have to take writing 101 in the fall, even if you are selected.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all. So this is an interesting one. There might be a couple students who are in this boat, so I think it's a good one to ask. So this student is asking if they know they're going to transfer to Trinity in the fall. Should they take the EGR course in the first semester? It sounds like they're in Pratt now and they know that they want to transfer. So they go ahead and register for EGR, or should they what should they do in that circumstance?
Well, if you still have any inclination or interest in engineering, I would take EGR 101. It was actually one of the objectives is to provide an experience to a first-year student with how the engineering design process works without having to have all the foundation courses taken beforehand. If you are definitely not going to continue in engineering, I would talk to an academic advisor from the Academic Advising Center first, and then to your academic dean.
Yeah, you choose the courses you register for. So, I mean, we strongly recommend all Pratt students take Engineering 101, but if you're not planning to be going down the engineering route, then you do not have to enroll in it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. There's a question here and somebody just put in about how you learn who your dean is. There was a slide earlier that gave that info, and I will put it here in the chat before we end, but it's based off last name. And so we'll make sure that you have that information, and your dean will be reaching out to you soon. So just wanted to go ahead and answer that one really quickly. So the next one we're going to jump on to is the student is asking if they enrolled in a focus cluster that is not the global energy, will they fall behind if they're an engineering student? This is a good question. Can you all provide some, let students know everything is okay there?
Yeah, focus classes can count for different things. Some focus classes count as social sciences, others would count as free electives. It would, they won't fall behind. If that's the main question, main answer basically to the question. It's how their courses will be arranged in the schedule. It would depend on if they have pre-matriculation credits, AP credits, or none. They can refer to, each department has their own handbook in which they have sample schedules and program requirements checklists. So that is helpful to see what are the classes that will be required and how the focus classes are counting towards those requirements. So there might be some rearranging on that sample schedule that's provided, and the academic dean can help you with that. But the answer will be no, you won't fall behind.
Thank you, Carmen. That's the main thing I want you to get across is everything is okay. Everything is a-okay. Great. So So another student just asked quickly, does Duke take IB credit and where can they find information for this? And I'll just let you all know that the best place to find information is to start on the Blue Book website. We have a whole chart that outlines the IB credit that is accepted here at Duke, and the same thing with the AP credit. What's also nice about that is it's on that site, it directs you to program specific pages, so you can get some answers as well to things that are program specific. So the Blue Book website is the best place to start, and under Pratt Academics or Trinity Academics, there's a course placement tab, and you can get your questions answered there for that. So wanted to make sure to assist that. So here's a good question just about the advising structure here at Duke. We provide so much support. It's one of the gifts of deciding to come here. So the student asked, will their academic dean be able to assist them with pre-health advising?
So there's a pre-health advising center. I will refer them to them. We do provide some guidance. For example, we have within the biomedical engineering handbook in particular, they have gathered information on pre-health requirements, and we do provide some assistance when creating the 4-year schedule, including those requirements. But for particular specific pre-health advising, we will refer them to them.
Perfect. And you should also know that we're actually going to have 2 pre-health advising webinars. We actually have one tomorrow as a nice little plug for that. And then there's going to be another one on June 23rd. So same content covered in both, same presenter in both, but there will be options to get your pre-health questions asked. Here's another good one. At what point in their college careers do they need to choose the specialized engineering department? So can you all just talk about the major declaration process for students in Pratt?
By the spring of their sophomore year, they're usually in courses that are kind of in one of the majors. That's usually, so when they're registering for courses in the fall of their sophomore year for the spring, that's kind of the last point at which it becomes hard to switch majors after that, because you have to like make up courses. But before then, it's pretty easy to stay kind of on track for maybe more than one major, and then like be taking courses that might count for both of them or multiple majors. We have a couple courses that in that first year and a half that are required for 2 or 3 of our majors.
Great.
Like engineering courses. And then the math and the physics and the chemistry are required for all the majors.
Yeah, I would like to add that during the first year, they have basically the same schedule. And we also want students to explore different majors, because maybe you have one in mind when you arrive, but then when you explore others, you might change your mind. So students are not allowed to declare a major until they complete the first year. And then, but like Ben said, by the second year, you'll be taking classes that are very specific to each major.
Perfect. Another quick question, just to clear up the way advising will work. So the student is saying, it sounds like an advisor might reach out to them, but there's also a note in here about people signing up for an advising appointment. So kind of which one is it? What's the way that they can make sure they connect with the Pratt advisor as they get started?
So that's both. So it's or the same thing. So the advisor will reach out through an email with a link on how to schedule that meeting. And then they can go in, schedule the meeting, and set the time in which they would like to discuss course selections and everything else.
And that email will go to your Duke email.
Correct.
So you all have Duke emails. Make sure you log in and check them. You've been getting emails already.
Yeah, it's a good reminder and plug for the Duke email. I'm sorry, Carmen, did you have anything else that you were doing?
No, that's right. Yeah, that's a good finish.
So the student is just asking a general enrollment question. I think it's a good one that kind of explain what it looks like when you put something in your shopping cart and then enroll. But the question is, once you enroll, when do you hear what courses you were successfully accepted in? Can you all just kind of talk about what the registration process looks like?
Sure. So you, during shopping carts, which starts Monday, June 6th, so this coming Monday, you will be able to go into Duke Hub and start putting courses into your shopping cart and building schedules. We have a tool called Schedule Builder. It'll give you a bunch of different example schedules. And then in your window, either on July 12th or July 14th, you will click, enroll. You won't be able to enroll until then. And then on that day, you'll be able to see, like right away, it'll say these classes enrolled, this class didn't, or this class was full. And like, so you had to, and so then you'll have some time to make some changes. Things like writing 101. Writing 101 is caps. They're capped. Each section is capped, I think, at 15 students, and there's no wait list. So if 15 students click just before you and you don't get the one you want to have some backup options. But there's a few different sections for each topic. Often writing 101 teachers are teaching multiple sections. Yeah, that's the process. So on the 12th, during your registration window, that's when you will like enroll and find out what you got into and what you might still need to like work at.
And I would like to add something, a question that we usually get also regarding schedules. If there's some overlapping between sections, you won't be able to register for those two sections. And if the window between, if you have about 25 minutes minimum between classes, that's the minimum you should have, and you will see a warning, just a warning message letting you know they're only 25 minutes. And that's just the system trying to make you aware. Because between, let's say, between East and West Campus, you should leave about 25 minutes. So just check where the buildings are. Within West or within East, it will be very easy to change classes, but don't be afraid of that warning sign. That's just FYI.
Blue book, and on the registration section, we have a cool little color-coded map about where buildings are, and then the amount of time it takes to move in between buildings. So I think it's a good way for students as they're thinking about classes. It's kind of a frame of reference and an average kind of across the board. So just a good kind of thing to think about as you think about your classes and course registration. So just another question that kind of relates to the focus program. It says, for focus students, do they have to take extra classes to make up for their credits?
No, so focus classes count for credit. Like I mentioned before, they might count for different things. It depends on the class per se in particular. But the Pratt program requires a minimum of 34 course credits, and focus courses will be within those. What in particular they'll count towards, it will depend on the class. But they don't have to take additional classes. They just have to meet the requirements for each major. So requirements will be, if you visit our Pratt website, policies and requirements, there will be general requirements like 5 math, 1 chemistry, 2 physics, and others. And each major has between 2 and 4 free electives. So a focus class will count towards your requirements, but it will depend on the class.
Great. Do you have anything, Ben? Make sure I got you. You good?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question to talk individually about. You're doing. I mean, it's nice to think about. It's helpful to think about what other classes you're planning to take with focus, and kind of map out what the effects of like moving the kind of 2 possibly social science humanities courses into your first semester, and how it affects like other prerequisites.
All right. I like this question. I know you all showed the team at Pratt in the beginning, so this is a question just kind of about team organization. The question is, do academic deans also help with internships or extracurriculars like Duke Motorsports or the Eco Marathon or anything like that? So can you all kind of talk about your structure and how people can get connected in those other ways?
Well, the main contact in our office that works closely with student groups would be Jennifer Ganley, but each student group is student run. So I would reach out to the student group in particular that you're interested in participating on.
And there's an activities fair in the fall on East Campus where all, many student groups at Duke are there, but there's maps and there's ways to like find what you want. But yeah, there's a bunch of ways to get involved. Academic deans don't, I mean, we can point you in the right direction for student groups, or point you towards the Career Center for finding internships. We can certainly talk to you about when career fairs and kind of typical things are. But no, we typically don't help students directly with job searches.
Yeah, the Career Center would be the best at helping students with internships, even after during their first year. So that's a good place to visit.
Yep, and I was going to hit on the things you all talked about. There's an activities fair typically during the first week of school of this semester. So in the fall on East Campus, outdoors in August, they have a fair with all the student organizations come. So we strongly encourage folks to come to that. It's a good way just to kind of see and learn and think about things you might want to get connected to. And then the Duke Career Center does an amazing job, particularly with students in their first year, helping them think broadly about what their interests are. And they can certainly help with a more focused career search, but their goal really is to just help you think about how you can become a better student, a better learner, and a better thinker to make sure you're prepared to pursue things once the time is right, kind of after that first year. So it's a really good question. There are some really good resources on campus to help you do that, in addition to all the amazing work that the Pratt deans do. But they're going to make sure that other experts in those areas are ready to support you there. This is a question I'm sure several students have, and one has asked it, and I think it'll get connected to what we talk about tomorrow in our pre-health webinar. But just for you all, since you all work at Pratt, is engineering, particularly the biomedical engineering, a sort of common connection to pre-med, and is it feasible to do both BME and also be a pre-med student here at Duke?
Well, in a way, I'll answer the second question first. It's easy to be a BME pre-med, but it doesn't have to be exclusive. So you don't have to be BME to be able to be pre-med. So I've had students that are ECE or ME that still satisfy the pre-health requirements and prepare for medical school.
Yeah, there are a lot of Pratt requirements like math, the physics, the chemistry, biology, potentially statistics that overlap with pre-health requirements. So there's a lot of overlap already. Pre-health students, both within Pratt and outside of Pratt, sometimes take summer courses like, organic chemistry or physics or math in the summer. After that first year, that can be helpful for pre-health students to fit in, kind of, because what pre-health is doing is it's adding extra courses to kind of your curriculum. And if you want to spread your courses out a little bit, summer courses can be an option. The other thing that has changed in the last, say, 10 years is that a lot more students take a gap year. So like, maybe 10 years ago, it was like 10 to 20% of students take gap years. Now it's more than 80% take a gap year. And so that allows students to spread out the courses a little more before taking the MCAT. And so that's another conversation you can kind of, we could talk about, or you could talk about with your pre-health advisor. But there's there's both the motivation to fit in the courses, but there's also a sense that students can be stronger candidates if they take a gap year. So those are things to start thinking about, but there's no rush to start thinking about that.
Awesome, thank you. So let me see the next one that I have flagged here. Okay, this is a good one. It's about choosing courses. You all talked about this a little bit, but is choosing courses first come, first serve? And kind of what is that process like? And if you don't mind, answer that and also talk about how registration works in the fall in terms of who gets to go first, and then how it works in the spring.
Yeah, so there's 2 registration windows for first and second year students. I'm not sure if there's still 2 for juniors. Not for seniors. There's only 1 registration window for seniors, but it basically flips back and forth. So if your first window in the fall, you'd be second window in the spring, and vice versa. Yes, it's first come, first serve on the registration day. So when you're kind of clicking enroll, a lot of people are clicking enroll at the same time, and then the first students that get in the course get the first seats. So one kind of stress for engineering students is that they won't get the courses that they need, that are required for engineering, and they need them in certain semesters. We work very closely with the math department, chemistry department, physics department to make sure that there are seats for Pratt students. And we have different mechanisms with each department to so that's sometimes during drop add, there's departments are adding seats. Pratt students often have pretty restrictive schedules in those first years. So there's maybe only certain sections that fit. So those departments kind of keep the caps lower than the classroom size so that the students who do have tight schedules can fit. And so that benefits Pratt students because those tight schedules sometimes are Pratt students. And so for math especially, there's a lot of kind of working in the summer to make sure Pratt students have seats.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And Ben knows what he's talking about. He used to work with the math department. So that's from a trusted source right there, everybody. This next question, there's a couple of questions that have come in about potentially double majoring between Trinity and Pratt. Somebody's thinking about doing dance and then maybe something else in Pratt. Like, so can you all just talk about that double major process and how it might work if somebody wanted to do that and if they can do that?
They can. It's just a matter of interest, and it could be very diverse. Sometimes I'm asked which is the most popular option, and I don't think there really is. There are some programs that, like UC and ComSci, which they've developed already a schedule for them, but there could be a second major in Trinity. It just depends on the student and their interest, and if they want to commit those courses towards that goal. And we're happy to help them develop a 4-year plan just to meet those requirements.
Yeah, I mean, so you're gonna kind of be choosing what to do with your time as an undergraduate. And I think, you know, at this phase, right, you'll start thinking about registration, you think all the classes and double majoring or kind of exploring different majors and minors, like, is very interesting. But as you get, say, involved in a student group or want to do Duke Engage or want to do other things that are co-curriculars, not necessarily coursework, but other aspects of your Duke experience, then you're going to be kind of weighing the amount of time it would take to take courses for a double major versus spending more time with Duke Enable or, you know, building a rocket ship to, you know, compete in in a contest. So that's, I think those are decisions that you can kind of set yourself up on the path for a double major. And then as you go deeper into the curriculum, decide if that's what you want.
Yeah, I would say that visiting and consulting with a director of academic engagement will be very helpful for a student that has multiple interests and would like to take advantage of different extracurriculars or majors or minors. And they'll help them develop a holistic plan, probably discussing, like Ben, you know, do you want to commit all your time to this goal, or would you like more flexibility? Because the truth is, time is limited, and you might think, well, instead of a second major, I would like to do a minor or remain with flexibility. So I think a visit again to the director of academic engagement office will be very helpful.
Another quick question about scheduling is our courses offered at multiple and different times of the day or in the week? Or does Duke always follow kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, kind of Tuesday, Thursday schedule for courses? Can you all just talk about, particularly for those required courses, kind of what's the cadence and pace for that?
You'll find out on Monday. Just log in. And so, yes, I mean, there's a lot of different, we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses. We have Monday, Wednesday courses. We have Wednesday, Friday courses. We have Tuesday, Thursday courses. We have Monday, Friday courses with a Tuesday lab. We got a lot of different things. So no, there's no one thing that's common. Yeah, I would say probably not. I mean, we have a lot of Monday, Wednesday, Friday things in engineering, but changes between majors or different years.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. And I think the key point with that one is Ben is right. Like, all of that will be kind of revealed on Monday, but thank you all to our viewing who like to be extra prepared. You're going to do the best you can to get a look in there and get a chance to see, but he's right. There really is a variety, which is nice, because if everything was sort of standard, things might fill up or it might feel kind of rotational. So it's nice to have a variety and kind of how the courses are laid out. So next question we want to jump into here. Is it possible not to be able to get in some of your required courses if they're late on the registration day? So I guess everybody is asking, is there a chance that a course that is required might be full, and kind of what do they have to do in order to manage that?
So in the case that there's no schedule that can fit all the required classes, we'll help them out. So reach out to your academic dean.
Perfect. So engineering 244, can that be taken concurrently with ME 321 in the spring of their sophomore year?
In the spring, that's planning ahead.
Probably not. 244 dynamics The 200 numbers tend to be sophomore classes, and the 300 numbers tend to be junior or senior classes.
Yeah.
If you wanted to take, so in the spring of the sophomore year, ME students take mechatronics, which is 224, dynamics, which is 244. The third ME class for students that would want to take 3 ME classes in that semester are usually 221 or 331. So thermodynamics 331 or 221 is like materials, intro
Yeah.
materials course.
Great. Is it common that students double major in Pratt? So do you see some like mechanical engineering and electrical or computer engineering? Do you all see that?
Computer engineering.
So yes, for computer science and ECE, that's a very common double major. A majority of our ECE students double major in computer science. Between other Pratt majors, BME and ECE is probably the most popular of the double majors, but it's not that many students do that. There are 4-year plans for ME and BME, and for BME and civil CE, but there are a handful of those students.
Okay. So there's a question about physics. Is physics only offered during the spring, or can they take physics in the fall if they're unsure of needing to continue with chemistry?
So that's a good question, because physics 151 is spring only, and then followed sophomore fall with physics 152. So they should plan to take 151 in the spring.
You can have a conversation with your dean about which physics makes sense if you want to start with physics. But yeah, 152 is only offered in the fall. So if you,
Quick question about the length of labs. About how long are they? Do they vary? Is it like 2 to 4 hours long, 3 to 4 hours, an hour? Can you just give some sort of insight into labs? I know it might vary depending on the course, but just an insight for folks as they plan.
It does vary by the course.
a lot of the Pratt labs in the first year are 3 hours. Physics is 2 hours, but they also have a 2-hour recitation. Chemistry is about 3 hours. Biology is about 3 hours. So 3 hours is pretty common, I guess.
All right, we got about 8 minutes left. We're going to leave a little bit at a time at the end for Carmen and Ben to give some final tips. And we've already gotten through 64 questions in about 25 minutes. So great job to you two. And thank you all so much for sending in questions. This is awesome. So I think you all might have answered this, but it's come up a couple more times. So are engineering students guaranteed EGR 101 if they're in the global health or energy focus?
If they're in global health energy focus, they are taking the equivalent of AGR 101.
If you're in EGR 95 FS, so that's, I would ask the focus coordinator. There's, for the global energy one, there's a couple EGR 95 FSs. So last year it was section 2 was the engineering design. I'm not 100% sure that that's the section that's engineering 101. So that's you can ask the focus cluster. We try to get the engineering students into the engineering design focus class. I think in global health, that's a new focus class. So we doubled the size of the engineering 101 and focus. So we went from 18 last year to 36. So we're hoping more Pratt students can fit focus with engineering 101.
Yeah, they should be looking for the engineering, design, and communication focus class within those clusters.
Yes, the title is engineering design and communications.
Yes.
Great, thank you all. So this is I think a good question. It's asking about placement credits again, but it's from a different angle. It's asking about placement credits from the international perspective. So the student is like asking, how does placement credit for math courses work for international students if they're in a British ACE system? They take like different math classes. Is that a question for the dean, or do you all have any insight into that?
So once they submit the scores to the registrar, they will process it, but they have on their website a table that helps guide the student before what they would transfer as.
Great.
So there's the math department also has some guidance. They have a placement meeting, and we can kind of find out when that is and send it to you. It used to happen during orientation week. I don't know if it's happening earlier this year. And the the question that the math department has some faculty that are international students and have some experience guiding other international students. So we can kind of send you to the right people and try to help answer that question.
I know you all talked about this a little bit. Again, 4 minutes left here, so we'll get through many of these as we can. But can you all just share again, how do we know which courses have labs as students get ready to book bag and jump in their shopping cart?
That's a great question. If the course has an L next to it, it has a lab. Like, so Math 111 L has a lab. Engineering 101 L has a lab. Chemistry 101 DL has a discussion and a lab. Engineering 103 L has a lab. Some of the courses, if they have a separate lab, it will be a L9. So it'd be Chemistry 101 L9 will be the lab. That's a kind of a separate thing you register for that's associated with Chem 101.
Awesome. And again, if you have questions about that, you can add courses to your shopping cart and then try to meet with your dean before registration so you can get those questions answered, those specific questions. They'll be here and ready to help you. Last couple here. Is it possible to take both Writing 101 and EGR 103 in the spring semester?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we have students that have done that.
Okay, perfect. And I think there was a question, and Ben was about the math placement and during orientation. That is going to be Saturday of orientation this week. So it's going to be on the 27th from 9:30 to 12:30 like it has been in recent years. So we'll be Saturday morning. The math department will be sharing more about that, and our team will help communicate that with incoming students, but that is taking place on Saturday morning for students like it has in the past. All right, so we've got a couple more here, and some of these are really specific. So I think communicating with your dean will be good, but there have been a couple that have come in about the focus program that I just want to try to hit quickly. You all might have some insight into this. So depending on what focus cluster, I'll try to summarize these more broadly. If they're in their focus cluster, there's a general question about like, how do they make sure they continue to take their math and their science if they're in a focus cluster? And I know you all talked about this a little bit before, but can you just give the overview of if you're in focus, that's not one of the focus clusters that sort of connect to what you all are doing in Pratt, how can students make sure they stay on track?
I think it depends if they have advanced placement. That will help guide the dean on which courses to recommend. For example, if they don't have Math AP credit, they should enroll in Math 111. They will have to choose between EGR 103. If they need chemistry, I think it would be very specific to the student's case and which major they're interested in at the moment, and then we can help them, guide them. So it's unfortunately it's very specific. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you all. Well, we just got a couple of minutes left. Carmen and Ben, I'd love for you all to give just kind of some final pieces of information here that you have for the students as they get ready to join this awesome community in the fall.
Well, I would say I'm very excited to meeting you all in person in the fall. I would say, I know that may be a little bit stressful to register for classes, but just be flexible. And don't worry if one section is full, just another one will be available or will help you with required classes. But yeah, I would say, we're looking forward to meeting you all and hope you have a great summer and yeah, to see you soon.
Yeah, I would say that registration will probably be stressful. I think of it like buying a plane ticket in the 90s, which is before you were born, but that's what I think of registration at Duke like, and it's your first Duke experience. So we're here to help. There's this webinar, there's a lot of information in the webinar, but we can also answer questions over email. Don't be afraid to ask the same question until you kind of are confident in the answer. And we're looking forward to meeting you.
Awesome. So just a couple of final notes here. Here are our upcoming webinars, right? So we have one tomorrow, that's a free health session. We have one on June 8th, that's about staying well in your first year. So that's our team from Wellness. That's our team from CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, our team from immunizations, health insurance. If you have any questions about any of that, it's a great one to attend. And then again, we're going to be offering our pre-health advising session, a second one, which is the same thing as the first one, on June 23rd. As somebody who's been here for over 10 years, Carmen and Ben are telling the truth when they say they are here to help. They love working with and advising students. So if and when you have questions, please reach out to either one of them or Dean McMillan if Lupita is your dean. So thank you all again for joining. We hope you have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you all